The 6th-generation RAV4 is the first Toyota built on the new Arene software platform, with 309 horsepower through all four wheels, 137 kilometers of electric range, around 85 miles, and 50 kilowatt DC fast charging. That is a plug-in hybrid spec sheet that reads like a dedicated EV from 3 years ago, and Toyota is asking less for it than a comparably equipped Tucson plug-in or Sportage plug-in hybrid. This is the GR Sport, the one Gazoo Racing actually touched. I came into this expecting a conservative update to the best-selling SUV on the planet. The exterior changed that expectation before I reached the door handle. The GR Sport front end shares nothing with the standard RAV4. The hexagonal G-mesh grille is a Gazoo Racing exclusive, with functional aerodynamic ducts feeding cooling air to the powertrain. In emotional red, the three-dimensional grille and slim LED signature lights sit below a contoured bonnet with a sculpted center crease that catches light differently depending on the angle. The GR Sport sits 15 mm lower than the rest of the range, and the front track is 20 mm wider, pulling the stance down and out in a way the standard car does not achieve. Wider piano black overfenders trace the wheel arches without looking applied. Exclusive 20-inch black alloy wheels fill those arches properly, with red brake calipers visible behind them. A front lip spoiler and vertical LED accent lights give the lower face a definition the standard bumper does not attempt. At the rear, a split-wing spoiler sits above a full-width light bar, tying the taillights into a single horizontal element, with the RAV4 name across the tailgate. In emotional red with the full GR Sport kit, this car stops people mid-sentence in a car park. I have seen it happen on the show floor. But none of that matters if the interior tells a different story. What the GR Sport cabin adds to the ownership argument is next. You open the door, and the first thing you register is the lowered instrument panel. Toyota dropped the top surface by 40 mm across the entire range, and the result is a wider field of vision that makes the cabin feel larger than the dimensions suggest. The dashboard flows from door to door without interruption. A free-floating 12.3-inch instrument cluster sits in your sightline through the steering wheel. Bright, high contrast, and customizable. The 12.9-inch central touchscreen runs Toyota's new Arene-based multimedia system, 4 times faster than the previous generation with 8 times the storage. I tested the response against the outgoing model, and the difference is not subtle. TomTom handles the mapping with Google Points of Interest and real-time speed camera alerts. The voice assistant processes commands locally without needing a data connection. 2 wireless chargers and 2 45-watt USB ports in the front console mean you can charge a laptop while your passenger charges a phone. Those ports are 3 times faster than standard 15-watt versions. 3 more in the rear bring the total to 5. Where the GR Sport separates from the range is in the details you touch. The exclusive steering wheel carries red stitching and a GR logo at the 6 o'clock position, with heating extended to the entire grip. The sports seats combine synthetic leather and suede-like material with integrated headrests that hold through corners without hardening on a longer drive. Aluminium sport pedals replace the standard rubber items. Red stitching runs across the dashboard, door panels, and center console. Rear passengers still get their own climate zone, reasonable legroom, and enough headroom to sit without compromise. The honest negative is the lower dashboard. Below the touchscreen, the materials drop a grade. Harder plastics, no soft-touch surface. The red stitching draws your eye away from it, but this is where the budget showed. You notice it once, then stop thinking about it. A full weekly shop with a pushchair folded flat beside it. That is what 446 liters of boot space handles without folding the rear seats, around 15.7 cubic feet. The moment you ask for everything the powertrain has, the response arrives before you have finished processing the decision to accelerate. 309 horsepower through all 4 wheels, from a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder and 2 electric motors. That figure is how a family SUV reaches 100 in 5.8 seconds, around 5.5 seconds to 60 miles per hour. The front motor delivers 150 kilowatts, a 16 kilowatt increase over the outgoing generation. In everyday driving, you feel the electric torque from 0 RPM before the combustion engine decides whether it needs to join. The 22.6 to 8 kilowatt-hour battery is 30% larger than its predecessor. It returns 137 kilometers of WLTP electric range, around 85 miles. Enough for a full week of European commuting without the petrol engine starting once. 50 kilowatt DC fast charging means 10 to 80% in 30 minutes. You pull in, order a coffee, and by the time you finish, you have added 200 kilometers of range, around 124 miles. The 11 kilowatt AC charger handles a full charge in approximately 3 hours from a home wall box. The geofencing function automatically preserves battery for low emission zones ahead on your route. I did not expect that level of integration from Toyota. The GR Sport adds its own chapter to the chassis: dedicated dampers with increased damping force, a reinforced rear suspension brace, and exclusive electronic power steering tuning that delivers a more direct feel than the standard car. The body is 9.7% more rigid than the outgoing generation, and the GR Sport suspension takes advantage of that. Less body roll, sharper turn-in, and a new electronically controlled braking system with vehicle braking posture control that uses individual wheel braking to reduce roll mid-corner. The honest negative is that the steering, while better than the standard RAV4, still goes quiet at center. You know where the front wheels are pointed, but the conversation between your hands and the road drops off at motorway speed. At 7/10, the GR Sport is noticeably tighter than the base car, but it still reminds you this is a family SUV, not a hot hatch. That is a fair trade for ride quality that stays comfortable despite the stiffer setup. The RAV4 plug-in hybrid GR Sport sits at the top of the range. A Hyundai Tucson plug-in offers 52 kilometers of electric range against the RAV4's 137. A Kia Sportage plug-in gives you 53. The Toyota's range advantage is not incremental. It is the difference between charging once a week and charging every other day. And the RAV4 plug-in supports DC fast charging, something neither Korean rival offers. 309 horsepower, 137 kilometers of electric range, 50 kilowatt DC charging, Gazoo Racing chassis tuning, and a boot that handles a family Saturday without folding a single seat. Toyota built the best-selling SUV on the planet, dropped the petrol-only option entirely, and handed the top version to Gazoo Racing. Whether that changes the way you think about plug-in hybrids is your decision, but the evidence is harder to argue with than I expected. What the spec sheet and the walkaround cannot tell you is what this car looks like when it is actually moving. The emotional red paint shifts from deep burgundy and shadow to a bright, almost metallic orange when sunlight hits the shoulder line directly. At speed, the lower stance the GR Sport carries is more obvious than it is standing still. The 20-inch wheels fill the arches in a way that makes the standard RAV4 look slightly unfinished by comparison. On a downhill section, the body stays flat in a way the outgoing generation never managed. And the braking system inspires more confidence than you expect from a car at this price. You carry more speed into a corner than you planned, the nose tucks in, and the rear stays planted. It is not a sports car moment, but it is the moment where you stop thinking of it as a family SUV that happens to have a GR badge, and start thinking of it as a GR car that happens to carry a family. That shift is what Gazoo Racing was hired to deliver, and on the road, in motion, in this color, they have delivered it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more content just like this. Leave a comment below with your thoughts or questions. I read every single one. And don't forget to click the bell icon to get notified about my next upload. See you in the next video.